Our problem is lack of recognition in prior year, and then all of a sudden you have a 1.3 billion bill. I don't know whether we have understood the process as explained by the governor.
I have gotten even further confused.
Senator Sifuna?
Because the governor is saying, I don't know when that process began, Governor. When did the process of looking? You basically went out to hunt for bills. Because you're saying you got into office, there are no records, then you make an announcement that we are looking for people who we might owe money. Is that the story? When did that process begin?
And Senator, let me explain what happened.
Start with when the process began, which year?
It began immediately we came into office, but it took quite some time.
That's 2022.
2022. Right?
Yes.
So what we did is we first took what is available. We looked at the financials. What was disclosed in the financials?
So just there, there is where you are losing me, Governor.
Yes.
So there was something in the financials.
Yes.
How come the auditor is saying there was no such thing? Because in the prior years, we should have seen some amounts, but we have a situation where from 2022 up to now, out of nowhere, we are hit with 1.3 billion.
No, I think that we do not agree with contention.
Yeah, that's the case.
We don't agree with.
No, that's what is before us, Governor. We are able to interpret the report of the Auditor General and also your financial statements.
And Chair, let me put this in this way and allow me time to explain this process. Number one, there was a
how much time do we have to explain all these things? Really?
Okay.
Surely.
Did you want to make an interjection?
Yes, I want to.
Okay, let's take the question from Senator Wangua so that you factor it in your explanation.
First of all, and the governor surely must know this better than me, better than all of us. He is an accomplished accountant. If a disclosure has not been made, and it forms the basis of an audit query, as a responsible government, as an accountant, the thing that you do is to provide detailed explanation in terms of financials, not pros, not saying this is what we are doing, this is what we did. Now, I hear the governor and the office of the Auditor General are talking about a document that is supposed to explain this query, which document we don't have. Yeah. How are we supposed to process that query?
Chair, just
Senator Chiradke?
Governor can come clean. I have heard him alluding that when they came to office, they assessed these trade payables and it is historical. But when you look at aging analysis, there is an over 3 years, which I believe is historical of 1.7 billion.
Yeah.
So he's confusing us further by saying he's referring to historical, yet we have 1.7 already. Yet under this, under 1 year is 1.3 billion. So, Chair, you know, the governor should assist us by being very clear in this between 1.7 and 1.3, because that breakdown, we want to arrive at 1.3 billion so that we remove the assertion that it was manufactured. And Chair, when you look even at the schedule, I don't know what you people drink in Wajir. He was spending in food and drinks of 6.5 million. For me, it looks like they were going to fish and telling hotel how much did we drink. Tulukunywa chai na mandazi, nini 6.5. If you look at that schedule, it looks, it had been, they went hunting as what Senator Sifuna for these bills. If you look at the schedule.
So in the, Governor, in the absence of a detailed explanation, the senators are not wrong to speculate. And so let's give the governor an opportunity to explain. If there is need for documentary evidence to support his explanation, we can give those directions. But we are all interested in finding out how 1.3 billion just dropped from the skies. Was it some pensions that hadn't been paid or some gratuities that, you know, all of a sudden came to your attention? Please help us understand that.
Chair, I think we're mixing issues here. So let me first of all separate two things, because Senator Cherargei has also talked about bills of less than 1 year. Matters of less than 1 year have to do with cut-off issues. We are in June now, for instance. we have incurred commitments. We have not received the money for May and June. Even if we receive it before midnight of 30th of June, chances are that by the time the system is closed, some of that money will not have been utilized. So those are just timing issues from one year to the other with respect to the payables that are within the 1 year.
And I
What
don't
I'm
think
trying to address,
we don't have a problem with that.
what I'm trying to address
Let's deal with the 1.3.
is 1.3, which is under the note on the accounts payable, and which the auditor has clarified he has the listings, the detailed listings that add to that 1.3. And we're saying those are the historical verified physical structures which we decided to pay on account of the incompleteness of the record that we inherited. And that the records were incomplete.
Okay, let's give him 1 minute to
Chair,
finish.
Chair,
No, no,
on
because-
that schedule,
Can I just finish,
just a
Senator,
minute,
please?
Governor, because
Oh,
we want to
I
follow-
might lose my thought.
we want to follow what you're saying. On
Okay,
that schedule,
Governor,
which
just
has
give it a moment.
That schedule that has been shared,
Yes.
does it have a column for us to understand when these invoices were incurred? Is there a column to show us that this is from 2021 or 2022?
It has. Yes, it
Which
has.
column is that? Because the one that has, I'm using, Cherargei is a very expensive phone, Chair. It's,
Because I'm the government, so you can imagine.
No,
if I break it.
I know the county can disown anything that is coming from Cherargei's gadget, so
Yes.
you'd
If I
rather
use
use
my-
your own phone.
If I use my own phone, they will accuse me of being manufacturing. So, Governor, which column here shows me when these bills were actually incurred, so that I know it is historical? Because the dates I'm seeing is there's a column there that says just 1 minute payment date, and Honorable Chair, they are all from 2024, 2025. So that when you tell us it's historical,
Senator, you have raised a very valid and important point, but let's not lose the question on process, on who is it who decided that this 1.3 billion should. Yes, because on the face of it, as I said, that's $10 million, 1.3 billion. So we need to allay that fear. So Governor, I don't know, you are not very detailed on the process. Is it your finance officer who said, Governor, all of a sudden we've got this 1.3 billion, let's pay? Was it a task force? Was it internal audit? Was it Auditor General? And obviously, Auditor General cannot be part of that.
Yeah.
So what was the process? What was the decision-making process to recognize the 1.3 billion as payables?
It was a multi-departmental committee that now had to receive all the reports. And every department again was told, can you then physically go and check what in every locality is a physical item that has not been paid or is being claimed. They went with the report physically.
Chair, you'll
check.
accuse me of being impatient, but anybody would get impatient with this, honestly, because if it's a committee, then that was said. I'm saying this issue, even a memo that sets up that committee and say, the governor, because this is a very material audit query. You should have come here and told us, on this date, the departments were told to have a multi-agency, whatever, meeting to forward the claims in their departments with any documentation that's available. And after that, this is what the meeting followed, this is what we got. The minutes of the meetings, finally, it was decided from this department, 5 million. From this department, 20 million. From this department, 30 million. Cumulatively, 1.3 billion. That's what we did. Chair, anything short of that is just stories.
So let's, maybe we have different ways of contextualizing things.
Chair,
Governor, Senator Lelegwe has a query which might be beneficial so that you can consolidate everything.
When I go through the Excel sheet provided to the auditor, there is a more suspicious figure of a repeated 60 entries of an amount of 1,399,000, amounting to 83 million, a similar figure for 60 entries.
And that's a risk of looking at reports that have not been tabled under oath.
That amounts to about 83.9 million.
Can you, Governor, can I help you? Can you go back to the process,
Chair,
before you go to the content?
let me, I think here the problem is that I'm not even been allowed to say what I want to say up to the end.
I have given you the floor.
Chair, I have said, with respect to the historical, and by the way, we provided even the report of the consultants to the auditor and to Senate, and we'll bring the evidence that we actually sent all those reports to Senate when all those reports were done. Every single report that was done, we provided to Senate, we provided to EACC, we provided to the Controller of Budget. We'll send to this committee all the forwarding letters and the proof that they were received in the Senate. Because of the situation we were in, and we were under a lot of pressure from the public to pay pending bills, we had to go for what was verifiable. Senator Legwe, it's not unusual to find one figure if you're doing the same things. For instance, if it's one classroom, chances are that the classroom will be awarded for the same amount across. If it's toilets, probably the same amount across. And this is what I'm saying. Because this is a note, and there's a listing attached to it, we interrogate that listing and we physically verify those. We physically verify when they were done. I have no problem with that. And I think that's what I would have expected the auditors to do. But as to why we were bringing it in, because nothing agreed. The figure that was brought forward in the financials even if it's through a memorandum record as recognized payable, did not agree with the investigation report by the by the Auditor General on pending payables, did not agree with the assumption of reports office, and did not agree with what the consultant did. And it was, Chair, I'll give you an example. In the assumption of office report, there was 600 million, I can't remember the exact figure, relating to things of physical nature which were not physically on the ground, including boreholes, including classrooms, including fencing of hospitals, but which the committee of the consultants working with the one that we established, because they still had to work with our people to go around, could not actually see. There are villages we went to where we were told there were classrooms, and you go to that village and you find the kids are in under trees. Yet the assumption of report said there were classrooms in there. And this is why we decided we'll only pay what was verified. So this is the situation. And I remember, Chair, we had these conversations about Wajir pending bills in the first committee of PAC. So this is what I'm dealing with. As to what is current, Chair, there is no problem. It's just a timing issue. Whatever we carry forward, because sometimes it's also multi-year projects, which is not paid by 30th of June, when we get our money and the system opens, we pay. And we track our commitments. I'll give you an example, Chair. One of the things we are struggling with is to pay statutory payables carried forward, which was not done for 25 months within that period. We have paid our statutory reductions every single month under the current regime. But when you're left with 9 billion, 7 billion, 6 billion pending bills left, right, and center, even my entire development budget after I paid salaries cannot cover that in 5 years. And this is why there's a conversation between Senate and National Treasury on those, for instance, statutory liabilities. Because statutory liabilities is very easy to verify. There can be no fictitious statutory liabilities. People deducted people's money and never remitted for 25 months. I have no way of making that up unless all I'll be doing is to pay what was left by the past regime and I don't provide services. This is the situation.
Governor, I have a separate query on statutory remittances, of 732 million. We'll deal with it because it's a big thing that applies to all counties. We cannot leave the 1.3 billion until we are sure of the process. And I thought that you're going to tell us that there are minutes, there are reports which can be provided. Because
we will provide all the minutes, all the constitution of the committees, all the reports of every team that looked into the payables.
The problem is this. When we sat at the first meeting, when you came back to office, the issue of ghost pending bills was big. In fact, many of us here sat through the impeachment proceedings of the former governor of Wajir. And many of the allegations were to do with pending bills and financial impropriety, interest management, etc. We have that background. And what we have expected you to do in your administration is to write down, to verify and get rid of fake bills progressively. So 2022, 2023, you had a huge stock. I don't know whether it was 5 billion or 7 billion, whatever it was. 2023, 2024, your accountants certified a figure as being the accounts payables. Then 2024, 2025, the same accountants and heads of departments tell you, sorry, to Achane na ile last year, we have 1.3 billion more to pay. That is where the problem is. If in 2023, 2024, the roads department said that their pending bills were 500 million, and then it was certified and the CPAs put their signatures on this report, how do they come again next year and tell you, no, it wasn't 500, it is now 800? You see, that's the problem. That's the problem. And if it's done through internal mechanisms, it can result in rigging of bills. It can result in manufacturing of bills. So we need to get clarity on that process. All of us here sometimes get petitions from members of the public. Our bills are not being paid. But our position is clear. If the bill is verified and the county government has agreed to it, it should be paid. It is fairly unusual to see a growth in historical pending bills. The general trend is a reduction because you are doing verification and you are dismissing those things that you are talking about that were said to be on the ground and yet they were not there. So that is why we have spent a little bit of time here, because it is an unusual trend where it is going up. And I know that in our first conversation, you were concerned that it was too high. So I don't know how it hit, the curve started going up rather than going down.
Chair, I fully agree with you, but it depends on what you started from. If you are starting from the assumption of office report, and what we have verified as payable is 1.3, it still come down. It's just that the financial statements of the auditor did not fully capture all the pending payables, number one. The assumption of office report, on the other hand...
Sorry again, Governor.
Yeah.
You refer to a report of the auditor?
The inherited financial statements had a much lower number than what was being claimed.
That's 21-22.
21-22.
21-22.
Yes. And the process took quite some time, to get a final report.
So 22-23, you disclosed the liabilities went up.
The liabilities went up. Went up.
Okay.
But still much lower than what was in the assumption of office report. So we, in a sense, picked all those reports and just picked what was of physical nature and decided to constitute those as what is payable. Frankly, that's what it is, basically. Because what was being demanded was much higher. And it cut both ways. I gave you the example of the 600 million of things that are of verifiable nature, which were in the assumption of office report, but which are not on the ground. But also, even within Wajir town, there were offices, for instance, constructed for departments, which the suppliers were coming to knock on my door to say, ofisi yangu inatumika, na sijalipwa, but was not in any report.
Okay.
We had polytechnics that were in use, but were not in any report. So we had to work both ways.
Fine. Governor,
And that's why we decided to
I think
stick.
you have emphasized it.
Yeah.
You have emphasized it. Senator Ogwa, you are a professional scribe. How would you summarize this conversation?
I think, Chair, I would just simply say Kizungu Mingi.
What would be the headline?
A lot of English. Just a lot of English.
And
You know
he
why,
used-
Chair?
And he used to work
You
with
know,
Standard.
even just what Senator Leregwe has mentioned there, on the 1.3 million, 60 entries, 60 entries of 1.3 million. You know, what would I expect the governor to do is not to give us a theory. Just to say, that 1.3 million,
Where the 60?
the 60 entries is a classroom, or toilets, or whatever it is. I mean, Chair, I mean, I also went to school in the US. And at some point when things get a little muddled up, we will say it is what it is. That's where I'll leave it.
Chair, can I propose
Senator Cherarki?
even as you direct the governor to provide further information, we must be specific. I think that is what Senator Wambua said. So that when you say access roads, is it in Wajir North, Wajir South, is it in Wajir Town or Eldas? And also, I've seen one interesting medical insurance of 322 million point one. What it attached to? Which are these companies? Was it for the staff? Chair, the issue of